Hello everyone, this is Dave Johnson and this is Moonride, where we are channeling Man in the Moon. I want to let everybody know that I do give channeling classes. If you'd be interested, just take a look at the website below. Also, I do still do regular channeling sessions with people, often involving people talking to those who have passed the other side. If this is interesting to you, just take a look at my website and it will have all the information you would need to make an appointment. So today, I want to take a look at the economy, because it does look like there's just a few bumps on the road, potential inflation, etc. Let's take a look. So I also kind of want to know, like, how's Biden going to negotiate this stuff? So first of all, I guess I'm going to ask, is Biden going to be successful in negotiating? Well, just successful. Let's leave it at that. I see Biden get bigger. Interestingly enough, the Republicans are all sitting at a fancy dinner table. It's like they're at a big fancy dinner party. They're celebrating like it's a birthday party, like they've got little hats on and, those things that you blow out that, you have sometimes at kids' parties. I don't know what those are called, but, streamers and things. It's kind of childish looking. They're all celebrating. Oh, and that woman, I forget what her name is, that's just been tapped to be the new head of the party to replace Liz Cheney. Sorry, I don't remember her. Who knows who the hell she is anyway, but who cares? She's just a figure. Right. So, why am I seeing this? This is the interesting thing. It's like you're watching a movie with like two videos going on at the same time. You know how they have them like divided in the center? And as I watch this, Biden's side does seem to be getting bigger. Like the dinner party seems to be smaller. Oh, and if you think about it, it's a political party. That makes perfect sense. So it's a political party, and they're sort of celebrating there. So, Spirit, why are they celebrating? Oh, they keep looking at an old clock. Uh-huh. Yeah, and the old clock, it's like ticking away. It just gives you the feeling that their time is maybe, it's a very old clock, that their time is sort of past, right? Who uses a clock anymore, you know what I mean? It's just sort of it's just a feeling of people living in the past. At the dinner party, they open double doors. There's a terrace. Oh, really interesting. They're way, way, way removed, way above the crowd, right? So there's a mass of people, below, but they're just specks. This is just how far the Republicans live from ordinary people. And it's almost like they're going to throw some crumbs over the balcony for them. And these people are not happy to be their subjects. They're just getting crumbs. But they're going to continue with their party and pretend there's nothing wrong. So this is it's almost like they're just living in a sort of ivory tower, sort of delusion. Interesting. The parties are picking up. Something's delivered to the party. And it's funny because it's like kind of wrapped in cellophane. It doesn't look like, anything fancy. It's just wrapped in, like saran wrap. And it's this little cake. It's a tiny little cake. And they bring it. Oh, yeah, they bring it to the group. And they're trying to make a big deal out of it. But it's just like, wow, like you could have got this cake at a 7-Eleven, they're pretending that it's bigger than it is. They're pretending that it's nice and fancy, but it's not. It's just a piece of cake. It's just It's just something ordinary and cheap. And that seems like the woman who's replacing Liz Cheney. Oh, you know what? Ah, a couple of people are getting up from the dinner table. So they're disgusted, and they're just throwing in their napkins, like throwing in the towel, and they're leaving. I think this just shows that some people really are going to go the Liz Cheney route and abandon the party. The party's no longer so much fun anymore. People are starting to leave from the table, and a lot of people are leaving, more than I would have expected. Like maybe a third or half. And it seems to be very specific people, right? It's almost like it goes from one, skips a person, then another. They're all leaving. So let's go back to Biden. Biden has got one of those old-fashioned microphones. It's almost like he's a big band singer. So he's got the mic. He looks in control. And people are skeptical at first, right? And then they get up and they slowly start to dance. Now, it's not immediate. It'll take a while. I'm getting like 3 to 6 months before you really get some buy-in for Biden, right? Before people, it's almost like they start to believe good times, so they cause good times. It's like, you can have the greatest music in the world, but people might still sit in their chairs and not dance because nobody else is dancing, right? And then when one person starts, then several people start, right? Biden just needs a couple of good dancers to begin this process. And it's very vivid. Unusually, these places are very vivid. The dance hall where he's singing is very. It's a bit more earthy than the Republicans' fancy party. The walls are wood, but it's sort of old. Not so expensive looking kind of place. There's paneling, but it looks like it's sort of a little bit more handmade. Okay. Now when he goes out to the balcony, there are people there, but they're much closer. Like, he can see their faces when he stands on the balcony. So I just have a feeling that Biden's just going to respond to the people better than the Republicans did. He seems to care about them, and there's not that much distance between them, and he's not miles high above them. He's almost at eye level with them on this. It's more like a terrace than a balcony, right? So it feels a lot less elite. And I think it's the Lincoln Memorial. So he's there, and then there's the people, and in the background is this Lincoln Memorial sort of in the distance. It makes me feel pretty good about his relationship to the people and justice and, frankly, the American system of democracy. Yeah, Lincoln's kind of winking at me right now from the distance, and his his statue is sort of winking. And he even has a little kind of just a tiny bit of a smile. So. What about inflation? Okay, there will be inflation. It's going to go up a certain point, and then it will quickly drop off. It's it'll hit a very quick peak. I'm getting in the next month, maybe even over the next 3 months. But I think that's the max, and then things will get going again. And the prices will not rise. It's like this, and then total decline. So I don't know if prices ever decline, but maybe that's just the nature of inflation. Gets to a certain point and then stops. Yeah, I think prices rarely decline, and that's not necessarily good for an economy. But the real point is that it's like this, goes down, stays down for a pretty long time. There are increases later on, though. It might be the case that the increases, that inflation again comes back in, I'm getting maybe 3 to 4 years. There is a danger of inflation. We should keep an eye on it. But it seems like, well, let's ask, why? Why is there inflation? I'm seeing the wood, and I have friends who've been building in the United States for a while, and they told me that the wood was already really expensive because of COVID and Trump's taxes on things like Canadian wood. There's a host of reasons why, not only Trump, but it was one of them. But those things are already going up in price. Because of the social changes, people building more, stuff like that. So this is part of the inflation, just those sort of social effects. That part of them really is because Trump didn't tax. He created a tax for those imports, which Biden can easily reverse. So I think that there are certain steps that they'll need to take to undo this. The other problem is the oil. The oil pipeline was hacked, and now it's created a sort of panic where people are panic buying. There really isn't that much of a shortage per se, but it's the social, sort of, what people believe to be a shortage becomes a shortage. Just like toilet paper at the beginning of the COVID crisis. So are there other reasons for this inflation? Again, social changes. People are going to be going out more. They're going to be shopping more. They haven't been shopping for a while, except online. So now these things are in demand. Everybody wants to do those things that they were not able to do for a year, right? So that means, the minute this happens, it's going to be difficult to find a seat in a restaurant. Right? Everybody's going to want to go to that restaurant. This will have very good effects on the economy in some ways. This is a really good question because I don't agree with Republicans about virtually anything, but there is a point at which, they're claiming that if you give unemployment out, that people will not seek jobs. I'm not saying one way or another, but I'm going to ask Spirit, is this true? For an amount of people, it goes from here to being very small amount to some. That's the image that I get, is just like two fingers together. There are some people who would not seek work but take unemployment. That is true. But is it significant? It's pretty negligible. Tell me more. Do some people really just sit at home and wait because they'd rather collect unemployment? There's always going to be people like that, right? No matter what, there will always be people like that. Even if the consequences are pretty dire, there will be some people, for whatever reasons, psychological issues, the fact that a lot of jobs are not fun to work. There's just a lot of issues, a lot of reasons why people, don't go back to work. It's not just because they are lazy. There are some people who are lazy, but those people are, have been collecting unemployment for a long time already. So it's not really significant. Will these people, will they be able to fill these positions? Yeah, but they might have to offer people a little bit more. They might have to offer them a higher salary. So in a sense, one of the things that's going on is, salaries are going to increase a little bit. These really working people salaries, the restaurant jobs, they might have to offer a little bit more or treat their employees a little bit better. So in a sense, it is raising people's salaries, and that is going to cost, a little bit more when you go to a restaurant, for example. It might be a little bit more. But it feels equitable. It doesn't feel outrageous. It feels like a reasonable thing to ask. That now, after all this time, if you want to have somebody work for you, you treat them decently. Biden does have his work cut out for him. He's showing me a lot of stuff that he has to do. It is extremely complicated, and in some sense, although I was not originally a supporter of Biden, he is a good man for the job because he knows how Washington works as well as anyone on the planet. He can get things done just because of the connections that he has, because of the nature of his vast knowledge of Washington, who to call, all that stuff. It will be very complicated, and it will age him. He will be under a good deal of pressure. But one thing that seems to be pretty clear right now is all that nonsense about Biden's cognitive decline. There does not seem to be any evidence here of Biden's cognitive decline. This is a fast-paced situation, and he seems to be addressing it. Is there anything else that would be helpful for people to know about the economy? Again, it's important to note that this inflation will go up for a few months, but it will go down. And what about the stock market that's just dipped? Do we get to know anything about that? It's kind of, I'm just getting it, nothing, it's not a big deal. The stock market just dips sometimes for whatever reasons. It'll slowly, there will be a sort of a curve like this, but it will slowly go back up. And I'm getting by the year a pretty good stock market. Yeah, I'm seeing a stock market with lots of people having a great time there. January, right? We might hit another economic peak in January. So I'm just going to ask, is now the time to invest in stocks? In a few weeks, give it just a few weeks if you want to hit the bottom. Say it will bottom out soon. And I'm just going to ask a spiritual question. How can people be calm during this, fluctuation, especially if their, jobs or economic lives are at risk? Meditate. Look at the long term. Don't take it personally. Take it as a method of change. We are all going to have to change a great deal in the future. Those who change will be successful. Those who evolve personally, psychologically, spiritually, and etc. will go and they will find new jobs, new ways to make money. So do all of those things and don't hesitate to stand back and consider if there's a better way of life for you, if there's a better job that more suits who you are, right? Okay, thanks so much for watching.